Hi friends, and welcome back to another episode of Healing Space. I am your host, Cara, and today we're talking about a specific person, the person who is just diagnosed with hidradenitis suppurativa. If you just heard those words for the first time, if you're Googling endlessly, if you're scared, and you feel like your life just split into before and after, this episode is for you. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsor, UCB. They make conversations like this possible and they support the HS community in a real, meaningful way. Thank you, UCB. Okay. Let's get into it. You're diagnosed. You probably didn't walk into the appointment thinking you'd leave with a lifelong disease. Most people think they're going to hear something. It's shaving irritation. It's hormonal acne. Here's a cream. You'll be okay. And instead, they hear hidradenitis suppurativa, which kind of sounds like some sort of fairy magic wand Harry Potter spell. And then they tell you it's chronic. It can be progressive. There's no cure. And your brain goes blank. And I want to slow that moment down because I want you to hear a few simple truths clearly. 1, HS is lifelong, but it does not ruin your life. Some people live with HS like background noise. Others experience it in waves, harder seasons and easier seasons. Symptoms can come up and they can go down, and pain can come and it can go. You will not be stuck in today's version of HS forever. A diagnosis is not a sentence. It is a name for something you've already been experiencing. You didn't create HS by failing or doing something wrong. You've simply been living with something you didn't have language or tools for. Now you do. 2, HS is classified in stages, but the stages are not destiny. You'll hear all about early stage 1, 2, and 3, and I want to say this slowly. Not everyone reaches stage 3. Not everyone progresses. And even if someone does reach stage 3, it does not mean that they will stay there. Remission is real, healing is very real, improvement is real. Sometimes when someone gets better, they go off and they live their life. They're not posting daily updates about it in support forums anymore. So what you see online is often the hardest seasons of HS, not the full story. 3, there are more treatment options now than there ever were before. I'm not going to list all the medications and biologics and surgery or therapies here. That isn't the purpose of this episode. What I want you to know is this. There is research, there is programs, there are specialists, and there are treatments on the horizon that didn't even exist a few years ago. If one option hasn't worked, it doesn't mean all hope is gone. It just means you haven't found the right option yet. 4, diagnosis doesn't change who you are. You didn't suddenly become weak, broken, or a sick person. You are the same as you were yesterday. The diagnosis just gives you a name to the thing your body was already living with. Identity doesn't disappear with a label. Your identity expands. You are allowed to learn about your condition, adjust your life, ask for support, and build routines that respect the skin and the body you're in. This isn't giving up. This is strategy. What to expect emotionally, the part that nobody in the dermatologist office tend to prepare you for. Most people don't grieve the diagnosis itself. They grieve what they believed their future would look like. And you are allowed to feel shock, anger, embarrassment, relief, confusion, sadness, denial, hope. Anything and everything you feel is totally okay. To keep in mind is 2 emotions can exist at the same time. You can say and feel, I'm scared about my diagnosis, and I'm glad I finally know what it is. You don't need to perform strength. I'm scared, and I'm really glad that I finally know what it is. Both those things can exist at the same time. You can feel really sad that you got a diagnosis and also feel really happy that you now have a treatment plan. Here's some tools for the newly diagnosed, things I wish I had 10 years ago. Tool number 1 is learn the difference between capability and capacity. I have an entire episode on that I highly recommend. For a short summary, you may still be capable of working 8 hours a day, exercising and socializing, but your body may have the capacity for only a fraction of that when you're going through a flare. And I want you to know that lowering output is not weakness. It's just respecting your body. And you can ask yourself each morning, what do I have in the tank today? What is my battery level today? Not what you wish you had, but what is actually there. And you build a life around your real capacity, not your past performance. 2 is build your flare safety plan. You will thank yourself later. A flare safety plan can include things like your go-to clothing, go-to soaps and body washes, different wound care items, medications, or pain relief tools. Treat a flare like an event that you prepared for, not a crisis that you're falling apart at. And a great way, if you are newly diagnosed and you don't have a flare care plan, is you can get a flare care kit from hsconnect.org that will give you a bunch of different soaps, salves, bandages, tape, different things to try to see what you like so that you can always feel prepared and not caught off guard. When I'm going through a flare episode, will carry a flare care kit with me with my favorite flare care items. And even occasionally, I'll bring a change of clothes if need be. Create your support circle intentionally. You don't owe everyone your vulnerability. You don't owe explanations to coworkers that you don't feel comfortable with. You don't owe your pain to people who haven't earned your trust. Share with people who have already shown consistency, empathy, discretion, emotional space, and relatability. Good supporters help make HS feel a lot easier. Isolation makes HS more difficult. A good support network can help lift the weight of HS so that you don't have to carry it alone. 4, learn the difference between advice and projection. You will hear, and I'm really sorry that you have to hear these things, lose weight, cut out sugar, stop shaving, just wash more, try this thing that I saw on TikTok. Every chronic illness community has amateur experts. You do not need to experiment with every suggestion. Ask yourself, is this advice rooted in HS knowledge, or is it in someone else's fear, bias, misunderstanding, or what they would do if they were in my situation? Your sanity matters more than winning arguments. If someone is suggesting things to you that you don't feel comfortable trying, that you don't want to try, or it's just straight up dumb, like when someone suggests yoga for HS, you don't have to try and educate them. You don't have to argue with them. You can simply just say thank you for that suggestion and move on. I know it can feel very frustrating and you want to explain why that's the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but oftentimes for your own sanity, it can just be easier to say thank you. I will look into that. And then lastly, on a personal note, when I was diagnosed, I thought HS meant the end of the life I wanted. I thought it meant no relationships, no children, no dreams. I thought my body had completely and permanently betrayed me. None of those thoughts were true, but they felt very real in the beginning because I didn't know what people with HS grow into. And I know that you will learn and adapt. You will meet others who understand. You will discover treatments and routines and boundaries, clothing, strength, and a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Diagnosis is not the closing of your story. It's the moment where the real story begins, the one you write with knowledge, community, and tools. And if nobody has said this to you yet, welcome. You are not alone, and you're going to be okay, even if today it doesn't feel like it. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and thank you again to UCB for supporting our show in this community. I have a worksheet specifically on everything we talked about today at hsconnect.org. And as always, please be gentle with yourself. Lots of love, Cara.